We end Ruth chapter 3 noting the repetitive use of the term dat and wondering why Naomi wouldn't want Ruth to be with Boaz at the town gate. Chapter 4 begins with two other leitworter, shev and goel. Does Boaz intend to marry Ruth or is something else at play? Thanks for joining us.
Further ado, we're going to pick up the tail end of Perek Gimel. I believe we left off last time with a tremendous success. Historically, Moabite women are not the best mix for Jewish men, but we sort of broke the cycle over here. In the past, where these people had, where Ruth and Boaz had come from, you would expect there to be some not necessarily appropriate behavior, but Ruth doesn't seduce Boaz. Boaz doesn't sleep with Ruth. Even though he says Lini Halayla, there doesn't seem to be anything that progresses beyond that from the text, and that is a huge difference, and I think a tremendous tikkun, a tremendous change in what you might have expected would take place, given Naomi's direction, given the historical baggage of the Moabites, of where Moab comes from, with the Lot and his daughters, with Yehuda and Tamar, and all of the baggage that comes along with this. Yet Boaz and Ruth are able to break away from that paradigm. So we are in 3:13. I know we read it, but we'll just pick up from there again. Lini halayla. So Boaz instructs Ruth to remain with him that night, and Chazal talk about how his Yetzer Hara is fighting with him the whole night, that she's a single woman and you're a single man, and etc. There's nothing wrong. She's already washed herself. She's gone to the mikvah, so you don't have anything that's preventing you. But still, Boaz was able to conquer his Yetzer Hara. V'haya baboker imigalech tov. Yeah, please.
It begs the question: is there really such a Yetzer Hara? Like, let's say he wants to do kiddushin with her. What's the problem?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that was her question, and his answer was, well, there's someone else who has the right to do that, which precedes me. Right?
Right, but
are you asking if that's a legitimate thing?
Right. Is that like?
So
that's the question. Does she actually fall to Yibum? In which case, why is Naomi and all these people? Why is Naomi telling her to go to Boaz in the first place if that would be a thing?
Right.
And if Boaz is just trying to put her off, like, why? So it's one or the other, right?
Right. So
either she falls to Yibum, in which case this is totally inappropriate Bechlal.
No, almost the opposite. If this was actually a legitimate Yibum scenario, yes, the older or closer relative has first rights, but if the younger relative or the more distant relative goes and is Makadesh her, it works, right? Yeah, well. So if he wanted to, and there's an interesting tension there, because part of what we said last time was that she needs to express that she has actual romantic desire for him. And he acknowledges that, and he clearly has some sort of feelings for her, but he's not taking that next step. He's still kicking the can down the road and saying, "V'haya baboker imigalech tov yigal v'im lo yachbotz legalech." So if he wants to, the other relative wants to redeem you, great. What do you mean, great? Do you love her? Do you want to marry her?
Right.
No, I mean, yes, I do, but I'm duty bound to allow this other person who has a stronger claim in some sort of extra halachic way that he will galech.
Why? Right. That's my issue.
Right.
This is puzzling.
Vimlo yachpotz legalech, but if he does not desire to redeem you, then I will redeem you. And he makes an oath. He swears by God. And remember, Boaz is always want to use the name of Hashem in his conversations. But he's showing her how much he is committed to this relationship by making an oath.
Right. I mean, not to try to criticize Boaz, the Gadol Hador and progenitor of Mashiach, but doesn't this seem a little bit flip, at least on the Pashut Pshat? Honey, I swear I'm gonna call you in the morning. Like, seriously, it an oath. You think of an oath, like you think of like Yaakov Avinu, okay, makes Yosef swear, and they're holding on to the Makom Brit. This is a serious thing, okay?
Right.
This is not something to just be like, like totally, dude. Like, I swear I saw that celebrity at the thing. Like, no, back in those days, like an oath was like a major thing.
Yeah, I mean, he took a major oath. He took
Right?
an oath
Why
in the
is he
name of
swearing
God.
an oath just like, yeah, I'll do it, yeah, like.
Why is he taking the oath?
Yeah,
I mean,
like
he's showing her he means business.
right. If he means business, why doesn't he marry her right then and there?
So it seems to be that either he believes or he's professing to believe that he can't. He really wants to, and it's super important what she's doing. He understands what she's trying to accomplish with this geula business, but his hands are tied. I really want to help you.
It seems really strange.
Yes.
It seems very, very strange.
And it continues to be strange. Vatishkav margalosav ad haboker. And remember, we have this intentionally vague word of margalosav, but she lies by his feet until the morning. Vatakam beterem yakir ish et re'ehu, and she gets up before people can recognize their friends. Meaning, it's too early in the morning to really be able to make people out. You don't
Before
have
Shema.
right, exactly. You don't have the street lamps to help you see who's out there. Vayomar, and this is interesting. Vayomar al yivada ki ba'a ha'isha hagoren, because the way JPS translates it is because he thought that people shouldn't know that a woman came to the threshing floor. So she gets up because he thinks something. That's a weird switch of who the sentence is talking about. It could be. I'll just go back to like my hobby horse. It could be that we're mixing up Rus's gender again, meaning she's the one who doesn't want people to know that she's at the granary. Or you can read Vayomar as like he said it explicitly to her.
And maybe said like the night before he went to sleep, and so then she got up, and he said she got up and went, and it's because he had told her that. So
Because he told her before.
Maybe.
Okay.
Could be read that way.
So now I guess she's getting up to leave, but she hasn't left yet because Vayomar, and he now says again, and this time he's actually saying it out loud. Havi hamit pachat asher alayich. Give me this word mitpachat is hard to translate. They have here shawl, apron. I've seen lots of different translations for mitpachat, but some sort of clothing asher alayich. Va'achazi ba and hold it out for him. Vatochaz ba, and she does that. V'yamad sheish sa'orim, and he measures out literally it's 6 grains of barley. They have here 6 measures of barley. Vayashet aleha vayavo ha'ir. And he puts it on, like back on her, and she goes to the city. So what is this about? Right? Any guesses at what could possibly be going on here?
They're trying to come up with an alibi.
Oh, that's interesting. She can't go empty-handed because that's weird. If someone sees her
Hey, where were you last night? Oh, I was just picking up some extra grain. Oh, okay.
Right. I like that.
But it's early in the morning. The grain
So what? Look. You know what? I was schlepping it last night for the harvesting festival, and I passed out. I was sleepy from the big feast that they had over in the place with the guy.
In the field somewhere?
Huh?
They're just sleeping outdoors somewhere.
You know what? It could happen.
It's weird if it's 6 grains, right? If it's 6 measures, whatever the amount is. I've seen like extraordinary amounts that this is like something that's almost impossible for an individual to carry. But you can also just read it as 6 grains, which the Medrash does, and the Medrash sees this whole thing as symbolic, that he's giving her these grains without being too explicit. Boaz is giving his seed to Ruth, right? there's symbolism that's embedded in what he's trying to convey to her. Like, I'm promising you I'm going to marry you, and then here's some seed, right?
Yeah, but again, if he's putting her off, okay, very mixed messages.
I think what he's trying
That's
to
a problem. Like, no, if he says, "Look, I'm planning on marrying you, and here, like, we shouldn't do this tonight, okay?
Mhm.
Here's 6 seeds, here's the kasher. Let's break the plate, whatever the minhag is,
right.
okay, and let's go. And oh, by the way, maybe we'll see if this other guy, has a thing. But like, that's not the sense that you get from the psukim. The
Okay.
sense is that he's like these things seem to have like equal weight. He says, "Back off, girl, my daughter,"
Right.
with the thing. And by the way, there's this other guy, and blah blah blah, and
You see that as more of a stall tactic than a sincere.
yeah.
So
It seems
so he doesn't. So in the way you're reading this, he's not really interested.
I'm
He's like,
reading
if I
it
have to, I'll do it. But there's this other guy, and he should really be the one doing it.
right, and then but by the it's like but it seems
Yeah.
like yeah, it seems very mixed messages.
Okay.
You can look at is
Huh?
he's ready to do it. Just has to make sure that
He has to dot his I's and cross his.
the T's.
Right.
According
He's
to Rashi,
duty bound by the law,
The
right?
brother, Elimelech's brother, was apparently, according to Rashi, the close
Right. Ploni Almoni is supposed to be Elimelech's brother.
According to this note here.
The six seeds the Medrash says represent 6 righteous individuals. We have David HaMelech, Mashiach, and then
Hilav?
nope, the 4 other righteous individuals are Daniel and his 3 friends Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah.
Who are not related.
Left field, right? How did we get to Daniel, Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah?
Yishai never sinned. He's his
Yishai
grandson.
never said neither did Hilav.
Yeah,
So
Yishai
what-
was his grandson.
Okay,
Caleb
so-
was his great.
So whenever we get a medrash like this, the medrash is reading the text very, very closely and is not pulling these names out of a hat. Why is the medrash picking Daniel and his 3 friends as the people who are represented by the symbol of grain or
Because
seed?
they refused to eat the king's food.
Excellent.
Like we had.
That's exactly right. They were the ones who were eating the seeds and the grain rather than eating the king's food. So if you're going to represent anybody as, if you're going to pick some righteous, you need 4 righteous people, and you have 4 of them who are associated with eating grain and not eating something else, then those are the right people to pick for your.
Do we know that they're yichus, that they come from,
They don't have to have
Davidic
yichus.
line?
They're righteous. We know they're righteous people. We know they were willing to put their life on the line.
Right, but like, what's the shaykhus of Boaz and Ruth having this exchange as opposed to Daniel's ancestors or Shadrach,
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
and Abednego, or who the Hanani, Mishael, Azariah.
That's who we're talking about.
Right, I know. That's what I'm
So
saying.
why are we picking? So it sounds, if I'm gonna take it one step further, what I would read into the medrash is that what's going on here is to some extent a Mesiras Nefesh kind of an act. That Rus, you're being Moser Nefesh to do this. You put your reputation on the line. Right. He's acknowledging that act, that what she's done tonight was not a small act. That it was putting herself out there in a way that was risky. And now we get her on the way back. Vatavo el chamota. She comes back to Naomi Vatomer, and now Naomi is speaking. Mi'at biti, right?
Who are you?
Right. Who just asked this question like 10 psukim ago?
Boaz.
Boaz. So again, we have Boaz and Naomi using the exact same words as one another. Who's Benjamin Siegel in his book posits this theory, which I think is taking it a step too far, but it's a really interesting theory, which is, are Boaz and Naomi in cahoots? There's so much parallel in language that maybe it's not mistaken. Like, Naomi seems to know what Boaz's schedule is and tells Ruth exactly what to do, and there's some sort of hint here from the narrator that they're both trying to accomplish the same thing, and that's maybe why they're using the same language, whether they communicate it or not. There's obviously no overt way to demonstrate that from the text.
The only
But
problem is, why would they have to go through all that, right?
that's a great question.
What?
That's a great
Why
question.
would they have to do all that?
Right.
Russ doesn't seem convinced, I don't think, in any way, shape, or form.
Again, maybe it's to keep up appearances. Again, if Rav Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal like saw fit in his wisdom that there's this 18-year-old Palestinian girl who comes in and after the Rebbitzin was nifter, he decides he's gonna marry her.
Right.
Like it's still gonna create a huge uproar.
Right. It's a hard thing for
How is that
people.
averted by doing it this way?
Huh?
Nothing was averted. That's what comes to play. And here's they had to have.
I think it's a question of degree.
In the granary together, which
You,
you just go straight out and do it without that.
Right.
You avoid that also.
Right. And why
being caught?
Right. If Boaz and Naomi are talking, then why is Boaz so startled when Ruth shows up there? Like this should have been an ex. Anyway, Vatagid law, and so she tells Naomi, "Eis kol asher asa la ha'ish," everything that the man did for her. Vatomer, and then she says, "Sheisha sa'arim ha'ela natan li." He gave me these 6, we'll call them 6 grains of barley. Ki amar, a lie. Al ta'avoi rekam el chamotech. Because he said to me, don't come empty-handed to your mother-in-law. So a few things to point out here.
is this a code? Is this like if they're in cahoots, it's just like, oh, I'm giving you the 6 seeds.
Right, he did.
You're giving me the,
the 6
he
seeds.
gave you the 6 seeds. I see. I get it.
Right. Well, I guess that prompts the next question, which is, did Boaz say this?
Right. We don't have evidence that he said it from before.
If he said it, it's off camera, right? It's not recorded.
Right.
So we know that Ruth always makes everything about Naomi, but Boaz doesn't seem to ever make anything about Naomi. He gave this to Ruth. He didn't give this to Ruth. Like, if the Megillah wanted to tell us this fact, it could have said it beforehand, and then this would all add up. Having this here, especially when Ki Amar Al Tavoi, right? This Eli is also sort of a critical point for us. We mentioned it before the beginning of the parak, that Ruth removes herself completely from this entire process. That really, when Naomi was telling Ruth to go down, she was saying that I should go down, but I can't, so you're going to go down. That's why we have a different Kriyan Ksiv. Ruth seems to pick up on that, and she removes herself from the equation. There's no more Eli anymore. Just, he said to whoever happened to be there, don't come empty-handed to your mother-in-law, even though he never actually said it. The other reason this is worth noting is that this is the last thing that Ruth says in the entire Megillah. She is completely absent from the rest of the Megillah. The entire 4th parak does not have any quotations from Ruth. This is the last thing we get from her. And now Naomi's response to this is even more interesting. Vatomer shvi biti ad asher tedi'in eich ipol davar. Stay here, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out. Ki lo yishkot ha'ish ki im kila hadavar hayom. The man will not rest until everything comes to a conclusion today. So how does she know that? It's interesting to me that what did Boaz say that Ruth omits?
Well, I mean, he swore to her.
Right. Now it says, you can push back to me and say, well, it does say that the Tagila is kol asher asala ha'ish, right? But I guess the way I would phrase my question is, why isn't pasuk 18 after pasuk 16? Meaning, if she told Naomi everything in pasuk 16, why wasn't the immediate response of Naomi, oh wow, he swore to you? Okay, I guess he's really going to do it. We didn't get pasuk 18 where Naomi responds until we call attention to the grain, right? Now, that's not such a strong question. Like, I'm sure we could come up with answers to it, but I think it's at least interesting that it took a calling out of this one particular thing before we get Naomi's response. I think there's some irony also in the language that's used over here. Naomi says shvi biti. This usually, in the past, this meant like, go back, my daughter, right? I don't want you to stay with me. I want you to, like, shuv.
Right.
Like, get out of here. Here it means no, don't go anywhere, stay. Now, why does she want her to stay? Where would she go?
Dollar signs. Right.
Where would she go if she wasn't staying with Naomi?
Back.
Not back.
To Moab.
Boaz says he's going to do something. I'll spoil the next
Back
part
to
of the parak.
Boaz.
But right, well, Boaz goes immediately to court. Right, this is a legal matter, and he goes and adjudicates in the court. So, if Naomi says shvi, like don't go anywhere, I have to assume there was an implication. Ruth is like, so if Boaz is going to do something, I guess we have to go to court and get married, right? No, says Naomi, you do not go to court. Why does she not want Ruth to go to court?
She doesn't want her to say the wrong thing. By the way, I was with him on the threshing floor last night.
There's got to be something that she can screw up, right?
Uh-huh.
Either it's something like that. She's going to say the wrong thing, or possibly, remember, we've posited that Ruth doesn't really understand what the term goel means. Nor is Ruth aware that there's this parcel of land that we're going to find out about in 5 minutes. If Ruth goes to court, she's going to find out all that stuff. She's going to find out what goel actually means. She's going to find out that goel has nothing to do with her. It has to do with a piece of land that Naomi has that Ruth doesn't know about. She's going to find out a whole bunch of stuff that it seems to me Naomi doesn't want her to know about.
She's afraid of like an intercourt meltdown.
I don't know what she's afraid of, but there's definitely something that...
It's land? Are you kidding
right?
me?
You had this the whole time?
Yeah.
And the reader is going to feel that way. When we get to the next parak, and Boaz is like, well, there's this parcel of land. Every first-time reader is like, there was land the whole time?
Right.
What?
Apparently, according to Rashi, though,
Yeah.
on Pasuk Tes, when we talked, she mentions that he's the Goel.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Rashi says that she knew about the land.
Who? Ruth knew about the land.
On Pasuk Tes, maybe Rashi? The other
Pasuk Tes of Parak Gimel?
Pasuk Tes.
Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Uparasa knafecha ala masecha ki goalata.
Do you have the Rashi there?
I can
Oh.
pull up the Rashi. Let's see.
There's a quote here.
There's no Rashi. Oh.
Yeah, I've got two Rashis. Parasa knafecha, kanaf bigdecha lechasosi, the corner of your garment to cover me. But batalitcha b'hu lashon nesuin. This is like, let's get married. Ki goelata ligool nachlat ishi, kamo shenamar uba goalo hakarov elav v'gaal. V'chamoti v'ani tzrichot limkor nachlatenu. So this is exactly what you're saying, that she's giving him a whole tutorial on what he needs to do legally with this piece of land.
Yeah, according to this note here, you refers back to Vayikra, where it talks about land.
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise, Naomi was forced to sell it. And then Ruth added, take me so that the name of the deceased will be perpetuated on his property. She said both.
That's interesting.
As a close relative, you're obligated to redeem the estate of my husband in accordance with Leviticus 25:25. Otherwise, Naomi will be forced to sell it. So, okay.
Okay,
Ruth added,
that's true.
Yeah, two, so the name of the deceased.
Okay.
Without Rashi.
Without Rashi, you don't see it from the
You don't see the
psukim.
psukim anything else.
Another thing that is interesting to point out in terms of the language is this phrase, ki im kila hadavar hayom. She says he's not going to rest until the thing is, what does kila mean?
For her?
So kila sounds like kala, right? Like daughter-in-law.
Oh.
It also sounds like kilion,
Uh-huh.
right? You have you have some of the same alliteration, if not the shoresh, but it's an interesting, like, kilion means that things are going to fall apart. It doesn't mean that things are gonna. It doesn't mean happily ever after. I think it's just an interesting choice of words. The one other thing that I think is worthwhile looking at is the use of the word dot in this parak is really interesting. It's used, I want to say, 7 times in 18 psukim, and I think each time it's used differently with maybe one exception. So let's look. We'll do 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll skip to 11.
Wait, where are you?
In Parak Gimel. I want to call it every time that we see the word dot, and let's just define what it means each time and see if it means the same thing or something different. In pasuk bet, we have V'ata hala Boaz modatanu, so that means Boaz is our relative, right? You still have the shorish of dat there, but it's the meaning of the word is that he's related to us.
Right.
And then we have in the next pasuk v'rachatz v'sach v'samtzim losayich alayich. Go to the Garden, al tivadi la'ish. Don't make yourself known to anybody. Don't disclose yourself. So people shouldn't know you in the sense of like actual knowledge, not euphemistically. Vayhi b'shachvo v'yadat et hamakom asher yishkav sham. And when Boaz lies down, then you will know, meaning you'll identify where Boaz is, and then you'll know where to go and lie next to him. Then if we skip down to 11, we have Boaz acknowledging what Ruth has done is a wonderful thing. Ki yodea kol shar ami ki eshet chayil at. Because everybody knows here, meaning like it's common knowledge. It's a famous thing that you are an eshet chayil. 14 seems to be the same as it was used in 3. Vayomer al yivada ki ba hayisha hagoren. Remember, we had back in 3, no one should know that a woman came down that you're coming down to the granary here. No one should know that you were here in the first place. And then in 18, we have Vatomer shvi biti ad asher teid'in echi pol davar, until it's going to become, until you learn what is going to happen, but it's a more knowledge-based kind of dot than an experiential kind of dot. So the word is used in multiple ways and very frequently throughout this parak. Just something else to call attention to, the technical term for that we've had before is leitworter, mila mancha. It's a word that's used so repetitively, it's there to call your attention to the importance of it in the parak. Okay, so far so good? Should we pick up, should we start parak Daled?
Sure, why not?
Okay, well then we're going to have to get a lot of quotes. I'll do one and I'll save the others for the next time. This is from Julia Kristeva, and I will do it first in the French. Les fidèles dévorent l'étranger. The faithful devour the foreigner, is how they translate it. I think l'étranger is probably the stranger rather than the foreigner, but okay. Yeah. It comes from, Julia Kristeva has a work called Strangers to Ourselves. She talks a little bit about Rus over there.
Well, the French hate foreigners, so that's not that surprising.
Okay, so we'll get started on just the first couple psukim over here. Boaz Allah Hashar, and Boaz goes up to the gate. Who in our history of the baggage related to Rus is connected with the gate?
The gate? Mordechai goes to the gate.
No. In the history of Boaz and Rus that we've been bringing along in our story. Lod. Yes, Lod is the judge, and he sits at the gates of the city. Vayeshev sham v'hinei hagoel over, and he sits there, and the goel passes by. Asher diber Boaz, who Boaz had mentioned, meaning this is the same guy that we had in chapter 3 that Boaz was saying there's this other person who should be take precedence in redeeming you.
He's just going about his business.
He's just walking on by. Vayomer suru shva po ploni almoni, and he says, turn aside and sit here, ploni almoni, which is essentially
John Doe.
John Doe, right? And it's not his name, right? The quote that we're getting in this pasuk is not what Boaz actually said. Boaz probably used the guy's name. He didn't call him Ploni Almoni, right?
Right, and which begs the question, why does the Torah disguise who this guy is? Like, if the Torah is emet, right? I mean, making somebody into a nobody, like, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so there's a lot of drushers on that he refuses to marry Rus. He says, I don't penashchit et nachlati. I don't want, he puts himself first. So for someone who puts himself first, the Torah says if you're so worried about your reputation being damaged by marrying Rus, you're gonna have no reputation, right?
Still, it's very strange. Like, I mean, because if the Torah is true on every level, like calling somebody Ploni Almoni is a weird thing. I just haven't unpacked it.
Okay, I hear you. Vayasa Vayeshev, and he looked like you said. This is the Gadol Hador. He tells me, "Stop what I'm doing. I could have been on my way to my job, my whatever." Like,
He turns to the side.
right. This is his whole day is about to change, and that's okay. If Boaz says it, then he's going to do it. Okay. Vayikach asar anashim, and now we're back to Boaz. He takes 10 men miziknei ha'ir. Vayomer shvu po vayashevu. This is also kind of dragging the whole process out, right? It's giving you more detail, and it's emphasizing again, shev. We have Boaz being shev, we have Ploni being being told to shave, and then he is shave, and then Boaz gets 10 people and tells them to shave, and they shave.
Was it Shabbos?
Oh boy. Vayomer Lagol, and this is interesting. We're not going to call him Ploni all the time, so we're calling him the Goel, even though he's not the Goel. Vayomer Lagoel Chelkat Hasadeh Asher La'achinu LaElimelech Machra Naomi Hashava Mistei Moav. The portion of the field that belonged to our brother, and here brother does not mean literal brother, it means our relative. Now, it sounds like it's talking about past tense. Machra Naomi, Naomi sold previously, but it's actually the imperative. Naomi must sell. Hashava Mistei Moav, in case you're not sure which Naomi I'm talking about, it's the Naomi who came back from Moab. She's poor. She has this piece of land which we the reader have never heard about before, but apparently it's there and it needs to be sold. And Boaz is sort of stating the facts of the case before he gets into what actually has to happen.
In front of a minion.
In front of a minion, yes.
Also weird, but okay. Because like, where in halacha do we see that? Like, I mean, I don't know the laws of kol kore and like announcing lost objects necessarily, but my understanding is you post the thing in the square that, hey, this is a thing, or you put it in the Beit Din.
Well, he's
isn't that
establishing
public enough?
He's establishing an obligation. It's not just, this isn't just a monetary transaction. He's trying to set it up as a halachically mandated monetary transaction. Naomi has to sell this. There is a halachic imperative that someone redeem it, because we don't want the property of a family in Yisrael to go to somebody else. So because the Torah told us that there's a mitzvah to redeem it, you, Ploni, have this mitzvah, and now you can't duck out of it and say, oh, I didn't know I have the mitzvah. I've got 10 people here. That's as public as we could possibly make something.
Right.
So there's no getting out of it now for Ploni. He's stuck. He's got to respond. If Boaz had just pulled Ploni aside and said, look, let's have a conversation here. There's this piece of land. Do you want to do it? Do you want me to do it? Ploni can always say, we'll talk about it later, and deflect and move on and not acknowledge his obligation. When it's done publicly, it's even more pressing than even if Boaz had called 2 witnesses over to have that conversation. This is as forceful as he can make it, from we'll call it like a social pressure perspective. Yeah?
Okay.
Now Boaz can do something very interesting. V'ani amarti egle aznecha lemor. And I said, now I want you to keep track of how many times we use the word gimel lamed hey. Actually, not gimel lamed hey, right? Gimel lamed goel. No, gimel aleph lamed.
Oh.
Egale aznecha lemor. Knei neged hayoshvim v'neged ziknei ami. Im tigal gaal v'im lo yigal hagida li ve'ed'a ki ein zulatcha ligol v'anochi acharecha v'yomer anochi egal. I count 5. So
what's the first word? Like egle aznecha.
I'm
going to reveal your ears.
Yeah, I want to disclose the matter to you. They have here. I'm revealing it to you for you to hear for the first time. Knei neged hayoshvim. This is again, it's reaffirming this word shev again and again. Purchase this in front of everyone sitting here, and v'neged ziknei ami, who maybe I guess they're here
Are
because
also
they
sitting
were.
here.
Im tigal gal, if you want to redeem, redeem. And if you're not going to redeem it, then hagidali, right? Tell me, ve'id'ah, and then I will know, ki ein zulantcha ligol, because there's nobody other than you to redeem it, and I'm after you. And then we get the big reveal, although it's all in one pasuk, where Ploni says, sure, no problem, sign me up. I will redeem it. Now, Boaz was expecting Ploni to do this because he pulls out his trump card, and we'll have to discuss next time why this is such a trump card. Vayomer Boaz, Bayom kanotcha hasadem miyad Naomi, on the day that you purchase the field from the hand of Naomi, umi Ruth Hamoaviyah, and from Ruth Hamoaviyah, we'll talk about this word umi next time. Eshet Hamet, who is the wife of the deceased, Kanita, you've acquired her, lahakim shem hamet al nachlato, in order to establish the name of the mate on his inheritance. That is a field too far for Ploni vayomer hagol, and now the Goel says, lo uchal legaal li pen ashchit et nachlati. This is a little bit of a rhyme. Gaal lecha ata et geulati kilo uchal ligol. Again, 5 more times. So you get a little bit of a chiastic mirroring over here. I can't redeem it because then I will destroy my inheritance. You should redeem my redemption because I can't redeem. And we will unpack all of that next time. The only thing I will mention is pen ashchit. That phrase we get by Yehuda's sons before the who's it? Onan doesn't want to marry Tamar because he doesn't want to be mashchit.
Her beauty.
Right. So there's kind of a callback to that whole story.